let's see, I'm going to do some sort of an outline, an initial stripe around the outer edge. And I've mixed a little bit of phthalo green blue shade. I actually did a little bit of peacock blue too. I think I'm going to dull it down even a little bit more with some ultramarine blue. But I'm going to sort of shift this thing off camera so I can get a little better angle for this more finer brushwork. You can see I just started a little bit over there, and this is my small number 4 round brush with a pretty nice tip on it. Not quite sure what goes on around there. I'll have to double check. Get a little bit more paint. This kind of gets into kind of drawing things, draftsman skills, and you know how smoothly you can either draw a line or paint a line, and I find it helps definitely to sort of warm up. Hindsight, I probably would have just done a bunch of this more fine line work. Warmed up to that, as well as playing with different angles and different orientations. Certainly trying to get to the place where I do one long consistent stroke, but decently hard skill to learn. I think that's good for starters. Now what can I do? Maybe while I'm here, even though this do want this to have the shadow to have softer edges, I'm going to try to sort of paint in a little bit. I can't really even, I'm not really sure where the line drawing is, but I think it was something like that. So I think right now I will try to soften that top edge. I'm going to rinse out the paint from my brush, and then come at it from this side with very soft touch, and just kind of touch it into that edge there and try to soften that up. And if your water is clean enough, it should soften it up pretty well. I'm going to do that again over here. Sometimes it's hard to get a, really a nice, clean, feathered edge, and it takes a few passes. And kind of doing this building up of what I'm already sort of doing. And then I did a little bit in the background and a little bit like this, so be a very gradual building up. Let's see, hopefully that was all on camera. Now I think I'm gonna I could do the pit, another layer for the pit. And I'm gonna look for my brush that's about this size. I guess my number 10, I think. Of the silver brush, and this is Azo yellow and Quin burnt orange. I think I have enough sort of yellow up in the upper right area of the pit where the light is coming in, or shining directly onto it. So I think what I'm going to do right now is a good example of wanting to, I don't really want more yellow on there, but I do want it to make sure that this basic area stays pretty light valued. I'll probably do a couple things really close to the edge. But I'm just going to do water up here where I don't want to bring in even more stronger yellow, and I don't really want it to get darker all over in that sort of area. I am going to try to get a little bit darker as I get really close to the edges. And note to self, mix up more paint next time. This is a good example of kind of how not to do it. But also a good example of how the layering aspect of this technique makes it more forgiving. I want to this area up here is, I'm sure, drying. I'm going to just bring in a little bit more clear water, and it's going to kind of push some of that paint aside. It will create an uneven amount of water in this shape, so I can deal with that. So if I just let it dry that way, it would probably have more of a back run line that I wanted. But this is one of the things I was talking about. I really, right around the highlight, I really don't want it to get darker or more yellow. Just stay pretty light. So even that I brought in some clear water because it wasn't that clean of a wash, and I was getting too, paint was going where I didn't want it to. So now it's still sort of by no means evenly wet on this shape, but I can bring in some more pretty wet but still strong color down here, drop it in. Do some of that tilt-a-whirl thing. Gonna grab my small brush again. See if I can bring in a little bit more color, but not too much once again. I may have dried a little too much up there. Yeah. And now for a third brush, let's see. I'm gonna mix some indigo and some Quin burnt orange and try to make it a pretty concentrated little mix. This is I think we called this Quindigo. But I'm going to bring this over to the farther side, the furthest away from the light source, and I'm going to start trying to lay it in a way that has that the reflected light aspect. Going on. If I want to lift out some paint from there, just make a thirsty brush, lift it out. Sometimes it helps to make sure that you don't have paint also in your brush. So something like that. And this is a good example of it's not perfect how I want it by any means, but it's getting to the point where it's time to just let it dry and come back and do additional things in a subsequent pass. I've been juggling several things and sort of juggled to the point of, you know, maybe dropping too many things and trying to pick them back up. Okay, that's getting all metaphorical and stuff. But yeah, that's I like that. That's good. That will be good to let that dry, he said again. See if I can clean up these edges just ever so a little bit more. Kind of just ruined that reflected light part, but that's okay. That's something I'm gonna more focus on scrubbing out actually, so dark, a little. Yes, I am. I confess, I'm not letting go. It's just so fun. I will say that this aspect of sort of pointillism of what I do, I know is not everybody's cup of tea. So I certainly encourage you to play with this and see if that feels like it rings true for you, or you want it to ring true for you. It's been sneaking, it's been doing the watercolor creep. As I've been sort of fussing with it more, which is another good reason why probably letting it go sooner would have been a good thing. I think I'll leave it like this. I will prop it up a little bit to try to make sure that the whatever paint is going to creep down this way to follow the value pattern that I want it to. Okay, more soon.